Welcome to the Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Michelle, and I'm joined by Bonnie, Leah, and Katie talking about our one cool pirate gal. Bonnie already talked about Grace O'Malley, but before we dive back in, let's get to know something random about our gal pals. So, if each of you can tell me, let's say you're forced to walk the plank. So what's the likely reason that you are being punished?
Dun, 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 dun. I think I know what mine is. I think it's because I said something stupid. What I said was stupid, who knows? I'm going to go with I was drunk and I said something mean. And it's not like this has ever happened. Katie's never been with me while this has happened. And I've been forced to walk any kind of metaphorical plank for things thus said while drunken. Drink as much anymore, although I am tonight. So that's what I would guess. I'm very unfiltered as it is, and for some reason, even more stupid stuff comes out of my face when I drink. So it would have to be that.
It's valid. It's valid.
I would probably be pretty similar. Like I was thinking, I probably like snapped and said something, or I make faces. Like I'm unaware of what my face is doing, especially when someone's talking to me and they're just stupid. Which is bad because I work in retail.
Right.
And there's
Yeah.
a whole lot of
Makes
stupid.
it difficult. Yeah.
Like I had someone call the other day and ask if we take credit cards.
Yes, since 1989. I mean, like,
Yeah, we trade in beads. Like, come on.
I like it.
No, I probably either made a stupid face or probably snapped at like a question like people at art fairs will be like, is this like your job? Do you make like money doing this? I want to be like, what do you do for a living? Do they pay you for that? Like, it's probably like I'm gonna snap one of these days.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, you and I have a perfectly matched face. That's actually what the term is. Our mood is reflected in our face, and it's very hard to unmatch that. So if we're pissed, we look pissed. If we think we're stupid, we look like, are you stupid?
I can't play any of those like board and card games where you have to like lie.
Poker.
Like we played Are You a Werewolf once at like Gen Con, and the person I was with just like leaned over and was like, are you the werewolf? And I was like, no. And they were like, oh dear God.
Yep. It's called a perfectly matched face. That's what it is. Decades of wondering what the fuck it's called, and that's what it's. Katie, what about you, darling? My drinking buddy.
Ugh, what am I walking the plank for? You know, somehow my parents instilled on me this horrific fear of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So I tend to be like a real rule follower, but at the same time, I have an intense hatred of authority. So it's really, it festers inside. So like you guys said, maybe I snap, but maybe they just hear I'm talking shit about them.
See, maybe.
Yeah, because they'll be like, you must follow these rules of the ship. And I'd be like, who the hell do they think they are?
Closet anarchist.
Right? So I'd probably be like getting everybody else stirred up. Like, you guys should do something about that.
Instigator.
Yeah.
Although there was one time on a movie set where I thought you were going to totally murder a bitch.
Those were intense days. I don't know
really,
where that came from, but
it was catering brings out the worst.
It does. Really weird that I work in a bakery now because catering. Yeah,
You've grown so much since then. We
I know.
were insane back then. But there was a time I saw Katie with murder in her eyes, and I went, "This is the day Katie gets arrested for murder."
There you go. I'm walking the plank because of murder.
That's what I said.
Sounds
Yes.
good.
I killed a bitch just to watch them die. It's okay.
Well,
I'd come to your defense. Michelle, what would you be walking a plank for?
I gotta say, I think my fatal flaw is probably laziness. So
Gotcha.
probably I'm walking the plank because I was like reading instead of swabbing,
Ah,
probably,
see.
or anything instead of
The
swabbing.
things you were
doing
supposed to be doing?
the thing
Yeah.
I was supposed to be doing, I'm not doing.
They
I
caught
don't know,
you.
I'm kind of like with Katie on that one. Like whatever somebody told me to do, I'm doing something else.
Right. We have found our rebels, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. The
Yes.
world needs more of you. Fantastic.
Okay, so my cool gal
Yes.
is Sayyida al Hurra, which is not her actual name. That's just a title. And it means there are a lot of different I found so many different translations of that.
Oh,
yeah.
Mhm.
I guess the closest kind of thing that could mean is something like let's see, where are my notes here? Something like free woman who exercises power or something like that.
Ooh, I like it.
Oh, free and independent woman sovereign who exercises power.
Okay, so she's Beyonce then.
Yes.
It translates to
Absolutely.
Beyonce. Okay, all right,
And then
got it.
secondary, Beyonce. Number 2, Beyonce.
Yeah.
Yes,
like it.
exactly. So she lived kind of during that time of the Barbary Corsairs, which like I had heard of the Barbary Corsairs, big group of pirates. They actually worked during a long period of time. And I had heard of them, but I didn't know a lot about them. And they were actually not so much pirates as they were privateers.
Gotcha.
They worked for the Ottoman Empire during a time when Spain and Portugal were kind of coming into their own. And this was right around the time of the Spanish Inquisition.
Nobody expects the Spanish
Nobody-
Inquisition.
Nobody expects it, right?
They're not coming. Sorry.
So just to give her story, like, I don't know, its proper setting, I need to kind of go back in time a little bit and
lay some
explain
groundwork.
a little bit. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the Barbary Corsairs, that term, Barbary, it kind of comes from the term barbarian.
Okay.
To get a little nitty gritty with etymology here.
You are my word gunner.
Right. So it comes from the ancient Greek barbaros, which means foreign or strange, which itself is from the Sanskrit barbaro, which means foreigner, but that it actually literally means gibberish or blah blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yes,
Nice.
they're saying blah blah, it kind of in a way of mimicking
The foreign speak that they don't
like
understand.
like saying blah 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 blah.
Wow. Yada, yada,
And-
yada.
Yeah, like in what's that called? Onomatopoeia. When
Yeah.
they're just saying blah 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 blah, and that in that language sounds like barbar.
Ah, gotcha.
And so then the North African people, they called Berbers, and so that Barbary coast was the land of the Berbers, and so all that got
those
mixed up
foreign
together.
speakers.
Right, because the ancient Greeks and the Romans, they couldn't understand what anybody foreign was saying,
Mhm.
and so that term barbarian came to mean foreigner, Anybody who
Oh.
wasn't a citizen was a barbarian.
Gotcha. I didn't know
And-
that. That's very cool.
Yeah,
It's
kind
a
of
generic
interesting.
term. It's not
Mhm.
so much somebody who rapes and pillages
Exactly.
and takes away stuff. It's just a foreigner.
Yeah, just a foreigner, right. But then, of course, over time, it took on those really negative connotations, and it came to mean somebody who
Mhm.
rapes and pillages and all that. And then, of course, as these pirates took this name, the pirates of the Barbary coast, which was the coast of the Berber people, and they were raping and pillaging and all this, then it started taking on those negative connotations that these are really cruel people.
Mhm.
And then all those things got mixed up together, and anybody who was foreign was bad, and it was just kind of a
Gotcha.
big nasty melting pot of horribleness.
Chaos. Right. I gotcha.
So during that time, the Spanish and the well, I guess at that time it wasn't Spain and Portugal per se. It was like the Spanish and Portuguese territories. It was all
Right.
the Iberian Peninsula, medieval Spain, I guess you could call it. And that the southern part of the Iberian Peninsula had been conquered and captured by the Moors. So the people, the North African people, the Berber people.
Mhm.
And the Moors, basically the Moors were like these North African Muslim people.
Mhm.
And they had held the southern part of the Iberian Peninsula since like the 8th century.
Right.
And the Catholic Spanish royalty weren't happy about that. they wanted it. They wanted the whole peninsula to themselves.
Of course they did.
And so they had been, it was like at the end of the 100 Years' War, they started fighting to get it back.
Mhm.
And they fought and fought and fought and fought and fought. And they fought this war that they called, like a long war called the Reconquista, which in English is reconquest, which is also known as the Iberian Crusades.
I was wondering if it was going to be called a crusade because
Oh,
it was
yes.
religious in nature of
Oh,
Catholic
yes.
versus Moors, Islam. So
So
of course
here's
it's a crusade.
the kicker about these crusades is that even though the Pope gave his blessing for them, of course, the
Sure.
Pope gave his blessing for him, and the supposedly knights and soldiers who fought in these crusades would get quote unquote spiritual rewards.
Of course.
In these crusades, people were much more motivated by physical riches, especially gold,
Okay.
because there was the potential for a lot of gold,
Mhm.
because the North African people had brought tons of gold up from the African Gold Coast.
Right.
And so there was a lot of gold and wealth available
Mhm.
for anybody who plundered during these crusades. And so it was a huge motivator, even more than people going, oh, well, if I fight in these crusades, I'll go to heaven.
Right, exactly.
So-
Be like, but I can't spend that right now.
Exactly. So it was just a huge motivator.
Mhm.
And even the people who had like spiritual skin in the game, if you want to say that, were aware that gold was a huge motivator. And so they knew that they could get a lot of soldiers in on their side
Right.
by saying, you'll go to heaven and you
get
can
rich.
you can get rich.
Mhm.
So it was a huge war, lots of battles, and every time the Christians would take a city, they would drive out all of the Muslims, all of the Jews, and they would take everything that they had.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they would tell them, you have to convert to Christianity right now if
Right.
you want to stay and save anything at all that you have. And Surprisingly, the Jews and Muslims didn't like that.
No.
Can you believe it?
Yes.
I should like lower the sarcasm quotient.
No.
So these crusades were just as much fun as the crusades in the Holy Land.
Yeah. Good
So anyway.
Nope.
So all American school children know in 1492.
No.
Someone was a giant dick.
Somebody brought syphilis to America.
In 1492, Grenada fell and wait a minute. Okay, so
Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
In 1492, Grenada fell, marking the end of the Iberian Crusades.
Ah.
And a new level of Christian intolerance began.
Yay.
Because Isabella and Ferdinand not only sent Columbus to the New World,
Thanks.
but they finally finished their Iberian Crusades because the last stronghold, the last Muslim stronghold, which was Grenada, finally fell.
Gotcha.
And so they were victorious.
Yay.
And the Inquisition, which had been founded in, I didn't write the date down, 1480 something.
I wasn't expecting it.
Right. 1480, I don't remember.
Right.
Anyway, very shortly before that,
Yes.
kind of really got going. And it was in 1492 that there was a brand new royal decree that ordered all Jews and Muslims to either convert to Catholicism or get the hell out.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and so
the welcome mat.
Yeah. yes.
Nothing like some tolerance.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
nice. So nice. But a pink slip to religious,
Exactly.
indifference.
So
Yeah.
here I haven't been talking about my cool gal
Who's
at all.
your cool gal? Where's she coming?
This is the world into which she was born. She was actually
Sucks.
born in 1485.
Okay.
So when this decree was made in 1492, she would have been about 7 years old.
Gotcha. Age of reason.
Now
Yeah.
she was born into a very wealthy, well-off family. She was a member of the Banu Rashid tribe. Her family had influence. She probably would have grown up, very privileged, living a very nice life in the southern part of Spain.
Gotcha.
Educated. Her family had, property, and
Mhm.
she had a great life. And
Nice.
then this royal decree when she was about
Yay!
7 years old. And so her family fled along with hundreds, thousands of other refugees, and they went to Morocco. And they came to live in a town called Chaouen, I think
Gotcha.
is how you pronounce it. I'm butchering that.
It's all right.
Something like that. So anyway, that town actually exists in present day Morocco. But at that time, it was just a tiny little town where many refugees had come to live at that time. And probably and I'm sure during that time, she grew up listening to her parents and other adults rail about how much they'd had to endure and how angry they were at the Spanish crown and Spain in general, and how they'd love to get back at them and all that.
Exactly.
So probably when she was around the age of 15, though of course there's nothing that says anything about that, but that was traditionally about the age when girls her age were married off.
Gotcha.
And she was married to
Terrifying.
the ruler of a nearby town. It was about 40 miles away, called Tetuan. Again, I'm probably butchering that.
It's all right. I mean, if it's
So,
not like Cairo,
again,
Morocco, or Casablanca, I mean, they get kind of hard.
right, exactly. Fez, I can do that one.
There you
Fez,
go.
I
See?
got
Yes.
that. So she was married to the ruler of Tetuan, and her husband, Abu al-Hassan al-Mandri, allowed her involvement in political affairs.
Gotcha.
And she actually helped him rebuild that city. The city had been destroyed in like 1400 by Castilians. And they built a grand mosque, and they resettled the town. And actually, they did such a good job that today the old town of Tetuan is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Oh.
So yeah, this is pretty cool. Like,
Nice.
she has a living legacy there,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool. When she was about 30 years old in 1515, her husband died.
Gotcha.
At that point, usually what would happen in most women's lives at this time is they would just kind of disappear
Right.
into nothing. She would be nobody. Kind of like Sheng Yisao.
Right.
But instead, she took her husband's title for herself and proclaimed herself the sole ruler of Tetuan.
Yes.
And she kind of set that precedent for other women who came later, including Sheng Yisao.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like it.
Other pirate women saw what she did and went, I like the way you think.
Exactly. I like it.
So at that time, she actually legitimately became governor of that area. And that is when she gained that title of Al Hurra, which means free and independent woman.
Gotcha. Beyonce. Got it.
Yes, Beyonce. All the way.
I like it. I see Bonnie's.
Yeah.
Yep. All singulates. All singulates.
So she's actually listed in the transaction logbooks of Spanish and Portuguese authorities who negotiated with her, but never by name, only by her title.
Oh.
Her my sword.
Your sword. Your kingdom for a sword.
Her Barbary Corsair cruise, she somehow found one of the last living Barbarossa brother and had him teach her how to privateer, and that's how she learned how to do it. And nobody knows really if she ever actually went on those ships with her crews.
Gotcha.
Probably not, but she at least ruled them. Like, she had her rule. It was kind of like some of these other famous pirate women, like Sheng Yisao.
Mm-hmm.
She had her rules. She made them follow them, and they all answered to her. A percentage of the money came back to her,
right.
And she enriched her town and grew that town into a very prosperous and thriving place.
Yeah.
So her Barbary Corsair cruise, they raided on land and sea. They killed people.
Yeah.
They took hostages. They looted tons of Christian ships. And they basically made Spain and Portugal feel the pain for all those injustices that she and her fellow refugees had suffered. And she was viewed as a legitimate naval power. And she ruled the Mediterranean for nearly 30 years.
Oh, wow.
In all those logbooks, she's only listed by her title, but they really viewed her as like more than a nuisance, as a legitimate naval power.
See?
Yeah. And
was
all
it
that
dudes writing about her, that annoying. Sorry. Back to like Bonnie's lady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because dudes wrote about how annoying she was being. She's in the history books.
So In 1541, at around age 56, she married again, and she decided that she was going to marry the Sultan himself.
Ooh.
So she contacted him, and he I guess he was smitten with her, or just amazed that she'd done what she had, and
Yeah.
so he consented to marry her. And he actually consented to leave his capital city of Fez, and he traveled 173 miles to be married in her home in Tetuan. So
Shit.
for a ruler to leave the capital city and travel that distance for his betrothed was previously unheard of. And it's the
Wow.
only time in Moroccan history that it ever happened. And
Shit.
then
Crazy.
after the wedding, she refused to leave Tetuan and just continued ruling as before. She would not go back to Fez with him. She
I dig
like,
it.
why did she even get married? She clearly wasn't interested in being a wife or
She
being a
wanted
mother.
the party. I mean, maybe the presents were really good.
Oh no.
She was bored.
So
Was it a power thing, maybe?
maybe
She's married to the
Alliance.
Sultan.
yeah,
Yeah.
she must have thought that somehow like being married to the Sultan was beneficial for her.
Yeah.
But she clearly wasn't interested in going back to Fez with him or anything, because she just stayed in Tetuan.
See. Oh my gosh.
But shortly after that, she just disappears.
Oh, all
She's
right.
no longer in the record. She doesn't continue her pirating. There's nothing.
Just
Nothing's
kinda-
ever recorded,
Huh.
or it's erased, which
Right,
has
right, yeah.
happened too,
That has happened, yes.
depending on who wrote the record. So who knows? Now the Barbary Corsairs, they go on for a little while, and pirating in the Mediterranean goes on for like another 100 years.
Mhm.
And in fact, they make so many people pay tribute that even the young U.S. ends up paying so much tribute that Jefferson declared war on Tripoli in 1801,
Oh,
and that's
goodness.
why we have a navy. Did you know that?
Oh,
That
no,
was
I
something
didn't
new.
know
on
that.
Wow. We have a U.S. Navy because of the Barbary Corsairs.
Oh my goodness, because Jefferson said no. We need some organized ships.
Yeah, we paid like millions in tribute to pirates in the Mediterranean, and finally Jefferson was like, I can't do it anymore. That's enough. And so we got a navy and we went to war.
It'll
What
be
did I miss?
cheaper to fight this as a war.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did I miss?
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Yeah.
Pirates.
And so, and it was right on the tail of Sayyida al Hurra, I think, that Grace O'Malley, Bonnie's late cool gal, happened.
Exactly.
Somewhere
Because we're
in that
talking
song.
like primetime pirating for Sayyida is 50s?
Like 15, early 1500s.
Early 1500s. And then
I'm not when she was
Grace's
born.
was when? Early 1600s?
Grace was born 1503. and
Okay,
then she
gotcha.
was
So 15s.
73,
Yeah,
so-
oh, okay. So they're pretty
Yeah.
back to back.
Mhm.
Oh, look at that. It's like we're going in
They're
some
pretty
kind of sequence, but I don't know who Katie picked. So dun 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 dun. So to be continued, but so far in some kind of sequential order.
I'll just give you a hint. I'm not going to throw it off,
Yeah.
but I think you will, Leah. I could be wrong.
Okay.
My timelines are sometimes sketchy.
Numbers are hard. They're so hard.
They are, right?
So, but you're telling me there's a chance.
That's amazing, though. Talking about the leadership and the charisma of
Oh, yeah.
Grace O'Malley, this lady,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
she got the Sultan to come to her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That is.
Ruled that whole town, made that town prosper. It was nothing. It was like a bombed out shell, basically. Well, not bombed, but
It was
you know
like
what
a
I mean.
refugee camp,
They
basically.
destroyed it.
Nobody
Yeah.
wanted it,
Yeah.
and so all the refugees came.
Nobody wanted it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she and her husband built it back up, and then she made it prosper and flourish. And by the end of it, it was like an amazing city. And now it's a World Heritage Site.
I love it. It's still there.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Fantastic. Did you guys have
Do
any
you have any
questions from Michelle?
questions?
Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, that was
dun.
cool,
I know. I dig it.
right?
Thank you.
Sweet.
Very cool.
Well, do you want to wrap us up, darling?
I will. Okay. Ahoy. That wraps it up for us this week. Join us next week as our next gal pal shows her one cool pirate gal as Gal's Guide to the Galaxy podcast continues. Thanks for listening.
Yay.
Excellent. For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gals Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.